pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Moines County Board of Supervisors, October 19th, 2021. Any changes to the tentative agenda? Have an agenda. Meet with department heads, elected officials. Terry Johnson, Des Moines County Auditor.
Good morning. We've just been busy preparing for the city school election. Yesterday was the last day that anybody could request an absentee ballot to be mailed. We had to have their request form by 5 p.m. And I think we got about 6 of them yesterday, so we got those taken care of. But now whenever anybody comes down here to register and vote, they have to do that the same day, so we're just plugging away. We've got over 100 absentee requests so far for the city school election, so we're just moving along with that.
Collins or Strike T?
Just keeping busy like always, got nothing to report.
Chair Lasser, Land Use.
Ditto for that, just keeping busy. We got subdivision out for review, minor subdivision, and then next week we have a zoning commission meeting to go over the revised zoning and subdivision ordinances. It's moving along, so apart from that, nothing to report.
Thank you. Brian Carter, Secondary Roads. Brian, no disrespect intended, you can start, I'll be listening, but I forgot my coffee in here.
Take your time.
And he needs
Take
coffee
your
to
time.
listen to you.
And the other two get out and they're leaving.
So get them wander around.
So we can talk about Tom at the moment.
Yeah.
And, okay.
Time's up.
There is a crew up doing crack sealing on Mediapolis Road. Worked yesterday, worked today. Maybe finish up today or tomorrow, but they won't be there. It's a short-term project. Obviously in the middle of guys trying to get grain to market, so that's caused a little frustration, but it is a one lane. They are gonna get through. It's just a little bit of a pause on their way. So, Flint Bottom should open up tomorrow morning. We got pavement markings done yesterday. Most of, if not all of the seeding and shaping, final shaping got done yesterday. They are pouring the throats of the intakes this morning, the concrete throats of the intakes. And they're just gonna set cones on those so they can cure. There's plenty of room for traffic to ease around that without any problems. So I would expect that'll open tomorrow morning, formally open. It hasn't been a hard closure for a while now, but so that'll be good to get that back to functioning, get out of everybody's way, and let that go back to normal. So we do have a crew in. We had some bridge decks that we've got to address in our upcoming construction program at some point. And they're more extensive than just sending a crew out, throwing a little patch in, that kind of a thing. So I actually brought our consulting firm down, and there's 8 bridge decks that they're gonna, between today and tomorrow, that they're gonna be going around and doing what they call chain drags on, which is basically identifying loose spots or weak spots within the deck. That concrete sounds different when you drag a chain on it, when it's got a hollow or a delaminated area in it. So they mark all that out, plot it up, and that way we can start working towards figuring out kind of what to work on first, because we can't afford 8 bridge decks in the next 5 years anyway, but it'll start giving us direction towards that. So we do have a couple of traffic control guys with them from our shop. They were starting clear up on the north end of 99, and there's, like I said, there's 8 bridges. It'll take them a couple of days. So that is going on. Also, the 235th upgrade project, that little short piece of dirt road, Fi started that, I believe, Friday, and they should wrap it up by the end of this week. So just sometime I'll get you guys up there and you can see what that ends up looking like. But they were working there yesterday, hauling dirt like crazy, and that should button up. It's not a long project. So that's coming along, and then I think that crew leads me into the next thing. I think that crew is moving over to Pleasant Grove, and they're gonna try to do as much dirt work as they can. No road closure, possibly some sort of a lane closure, or just simply a alternate or a stop and go type deal for more for safety. But they are hoping to move over there and try to get some of that dirt work done this fall, which will ultimately help the time period for next spring. So should see some activity there moving into next week if things stay as they had told us. And we got a couple different ditching operations going today, and we finally finished up the bulk of our rock program this week, including our pinch roads and such. So that's good. That finally frees up a couple bodies to work on some other stuff. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Trying to start counting the days when you get to mid-October. Start using the good weather as much as you can. Not that we haven't already, but you start realizing it's not going to last that much longer. So.
Ron, this crack sealing on this Minneapolis road, is that where they come together?
The worst of the cracks was actually the center line crack.
Center line crack
It
is
was,
what
that
it
one was just, not all of them separate that way, that one was. So that was the biggest one. Then they'll go ahead and route and seal any of the reflective cracks that have come up through, longitudinal, transverse, whichever way. They do those while they're there. But the center line was the one that gave me the most concern. We don't have that, like I said, real commonly, but that road definitely opened up, and we just wanted to keep as much salt and stuff out of there for future winter.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing. That's why we're doing it. That was
Was it that heat? Isn't that when they did that road, wasn't there some problems with the heat? I think they had to work at night a few days.
good memory. Yeah, that was a $50,000 change order, and the very first and hopefully last night operation that we've ever had to undertake here, because it was too hot during the day for the asphalt. The asphalt was not cooling down enough to be usable the next day. So we had to go to night operations, and even the nighttime temperatures back then at that stretch were pushing 80 degrees on some nights. We had that was the same summer we had the mainline concrete paving on Highway 99, so we had to split crews, and one crew went to a night shift, one crew went to a day shift, and cover everything. So yeah, and whether that's part of it, I think that's certainly possible. That's part of it. I don't know the answer to it. So we don't see any problems with the paving, so that's a great thing. So like I said, get it sealed up and keep material and salt from getting in there. And as of now, I've been watching that very close because we had some other issues on that project that we think might have been heat related, and they really haven't shown up at this point as far as the general paving itself. So, but yeah.
When they do that chain drag on these decks, do they check them? You know, here, what, 2 or 3 years ago, we had some of them where they'd go down and push that deck back up.
Oh, no, those weren't in on this is actually being done on the bridge. What we did there was on the approaches, and no, they're not doing anything with that.
Okay.
Yep, they're just simply looking at the deck itself.
Just weak spots in the deck, is that what it's?
Yeah, just trying to identify well, like I said, trying to prioritize. That's really the biggest thing. It's not like any of those 8 bridges are gonna fall in. None of the bridges that they're going to are posted at this point. We're really just trying to, what I wanted to do was set forth and try to have a plan to try to address our worst priorities first as we move forward. I mean, you're probably talking, if you're talking a deck overlay, you're probably talking $200,000 to $300,000 pop, and it takes a while to knock all of those out. It's just with the money that we have, it takes all that time.
200 or 300 for a deck overlay?
By the time you mill and you fix spots, because it's no different like they did over here on some of these overpasses a couple years ago across the 4-lane, where if you drove by there, they milled across it, and then those spots I'm talking about, sometimes those are bad enough that you have to go ahead and break out all the way through the deck. But you gotta do that and leave the existing steel all in place. And then you form the bottom, pour that patch, and then of course at the end you put a deck over, a 2-inch new deck over top, and it's just identifying what kind of project needs done. I mean, that's why we're doing it, is just identifying what we think needs done, how soon each one needs done, and again, setting our priorities going forward. So.
Yeah, I was just asking a question, you don't gotta get funky about it.
Yeah.
Hey, before you leave, I need to ask you something, so don't.
I'm running out of here as quick as possible. So, sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, Brian. Chris Lee, Conservation.
Good morning. Let's see, we have internet back at the Nature Center, so that's good. Thanks to Colin for his work on getting CenturyLink to open us back up. Apparently they did find or supposedly received the check finally, so that's good. We've had several people ask, why do you need internet at the Nature Center? People gotta realize that, one, our cell phones pretty much don't work down in that hole. So we can't even get on our emails to communicate back and forth with teachers and program planners and stuff like that. Two, all of our project management system, all of our timesheet systems, obviously all of our email, all of our files. So every document, everything that our staff works on is all networked through our server out of our office. And so without internet connectivity, we literally have zero use for any of that. And, I could have the staff just sit there and, keep cleaning the Nature Center or whatever. But, the reality is I'm not just gonna have them sit there and not be able to use their time. And so-
How are the animals supposed to know to get out of Tom's way if they can't get online and find out who he is?
Right, exactly. And so, yeah, it's just, we live in a connected world now. And so, when you lose your connectivity, it brings your entire operation essentially to a halt. Our camera system is networked, so it is pretty critically important for us to plan programs and communicate with teachers and all that kind of stuff. And so that seems to be functioning. We are talking to some of the service providers again about what's it gonna take to get a better line down there. Because even the line that runs our internet also runs our phones, and so every time it rains, you can't hardly talk on the phone because of the static and the buzz behind there is so incredible. Like I said, the cell phones basically don't work down there. And then
If it's raining, they don't work?
yeah, so if it rains and the ground gets wet, it starts shorting out the line, and the buzz in the phone, it's almost like microphone feedback. It's just this buzz, hum kind of.
But you got a ground line there though too, right?
Yeah, it runs in the ground, and so.
I mean, you guys have, not just mobile phones. you
Landline.
guys have
Yeah,
landline.
and it's the landline that buzzes. Yeah, every time it rains. And so, it's just, it's difficult. And then, other than that, folks are just kind of working on some park maintenance. We are gonna be working on fish habitat grants, or possibly two of them. We're looking at building some sediment ponds at Big Hollow. These are gonna be, the first one, we might actually do two. It's gonna be west of the RV campground, but east of the primitive campground. There's a drainage in there. When we first did the watershed assessment back in, I think, 2017, we identified all of the gullies within the park that fed the lake, and then they ranked them by how much sediment they were giving up, how erosive they were. And so we've been systematically going through and trying to address the most erosive ones. We built that pond right next to the campground 2 years ago, and that was the most erosive gully that we had, so we addressed that by building a sediment pond there. This one will be the next one over, and so that's doing what we can inside the park to address water quality in the lake. And so if we get the grant, it'll be next year probably, folks will start seeing some work. We're gonna do it where we try to impact the timber as minimally as possible, but it will require some tree clearing, and so folks may see that. But it'll create kind of a neat pond right next to the campgrounds there, so it'll be a
It's
added
looking
feature
pretty
to-
green in some spots, man.
It's looking pretty green in a lot of spots, yeah. And so, so we are working on that. We are working with the watershed team and the engineer that we hired to get that watershed plan done, and having a lot of correspondence back and forth on that. We expect to see a draft of that final plan here possibly first part of next month, we think. So that is moving. It just, it moves at the pace of government. But yeah. Other than that, campground was full this last weekend. Our camp host tells us she turned 15 people away from Big Hollow here in the middle of October, but you couldn't ask for better camping weather. This is gorgeous out. So, and it looks like we're likely to have that through the end of the year. So we expect to see good numbers, honestly, through the end of the camping season through this month anyway. We will start shutting water off at the end of October in some of our parks. In our campgrounds, we will leave it on as long as we're not at risk of freezing. And so we'll just kind of play that by ear. Folks that want to get in that late season camping still can. As long as we're not going to be freezing at night, we can't afford to be freezing up hydrants at night.
Hey, I just want to say that I got a chance to use the park recently, as you know, when I was
Yep.
harassing you on vacation, but it was fantastic. I've been telling everybody, you know, that they need to go out there and re-experience that. The cabin, the off-grid cabin was fantastic. My only complaint was the water wasn't blowing enough the toilet, so we'll work that out. But,
Pass that along.
but yeah, it was great. And my grandson came out, man, and we threw some rocks on the road. Calm down, man.
Did it skip rocks?
No, we didn't skip any rocks. I think he would have if I'd have let him, but no, we didn't do that. But no, we did some s'mores and all that good stuff. But it was phenomenal. We're gonna do it again next year. See if I can get it reserved. But it was a great time. I think people need to utilize the things that we do have in Des Moines County. We got a lot of good stuff, and so get out and do it. And I just want to say this too: that COVID, you know, they say you can't be around people. Nature is COVID free, my friends.
And now's a great time with all the leaves turning and everything and all the color out there. It's a really great time to get outside, you know, especially when you got weather like this. In the fall, you're not out there freezing, checking out the leaves. Good time. Get out there.
I drove out by there the other day and seen two guys cleaning the back of their boat off there.
Oh, yeah.
Is there someplace else that they could do that where people's not gonna be walking? I mean, that is, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Oh, yeah. No, there really isn't. I mean, that's about the only spot where you've got any sort of hose contraption to hose it off. And frankly, I'm glad they're doing it and they're not just, you know, dragging around the county.
Yeah.
You know, because really by law, you're supposed to clean your boat off, and make sure you're not transporting aquatic invasives. And so that's one of the things we're gonna be looking at as far as future improvements, like to the boat ramp, is the boat wash station.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of counties and a lot of state parks and stuff have put that near the boat ramps.
Just put one of them there, can't you put a pump or something, just pump right out of the lake and run right back in then?
Yeah, pull out from
Yeah.
down low, we don't have the outlet. Yep. Yep, that's one of the things we're exploring. Yep.
It sure makes it nice, you got little kids running around out there and that, okay,
Yep.
that's enough said.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Natalie Stepner, Des Moines County Recorder.
Good morning. I just want to let you guys know on, let's see, next Tuesday, October 26th, the Iowa Land Records is going to be putting on a seminar. That's going to be at Pizzazz from 3 to 4:30. The program's going to cover just basic electronic filing. That's what a lot of banks, abstract companies, attorneys use to do their e-recordings, is through Iowa Land Records. They're also going to introduce a new updated version. And then it's going to be the chance just for these banks and these submitters to be able to ask questions and learn just learn about their new platform. So if you gentlemen want to come out and see how the electronic filing system works, just let me know. That'll be next Tuesday,
At what time Tuesday?
3 to 4:30.
So Natalie, I've been waiting on this. So did you see me yesterday?
No,
You didn't see me yesterday.
we're out.
You didn't see these black fingers waving all like this at you? You didn't see that?
I didn't see any fingers.
You didn't see no fingers? I'll make sure you see one next time. All right, I waved at
Where
Natalie and
at?
she didn't wave back. Forget it.
It had to be between here and Sperry.
Well, no, it was here, it was here. And you looked at me and you did like this and I'm going, all like this, man. And some old lady looked at me, was like, what's the matter with this guy? You know, and you didn't even acknowledge, it just gonna hurt my feelings. You and Rodney Gleason, you're both on my hit list.
I
But
think
let you know.
I think you're making that up because I did not.
Deep in thought. Good Gleason, man.
I must have been.
Gotta be careful bothering people when they're driving or you get sideswiped.
I was driving. I got ready to do a car trying to wave it down.
Thank you, Natalie. Trent Hagelbeck, Attorney's Office.
Yeah, the boss upstairs today, so I'm sitting in.
Everything's running smooth at this point, nothing to report. They're just moving faster, trying to get all these COVID waivers done. So we got bosses and jury today, they got another one next week after, they're knocking them out as fast as they can.
The last of COVID waivers is what, the end of December, I think?
31st, I believe it's actually January 31st.
Okay.
December too, but it might be January.
Okay. Thanks, Trent.
So, yeah, so they're working through it pretty fast at this point, which is what we have to do, so, yeah.
Good luck. Janelle Nally-Longquist, Moines County Treasurer.
Good morning, we're just keeping busy, nothing new to report. I do have an agenda item.
Okay. Thanks, Janelle. Angie Vaughn, Safety.
Good morning. Really don't have anything. We did get through the active killer seminar, or the drill. I think everything went really, really slick. I mean, it's probably the smoothest it's ever gone. We've still learned some things. There's some things we need to work on, some extra things we needed to add to training. But wow, they did a great job. I was very, very impressed with how well that went. So.
I was wondering if you guys were going to do like an assessment of safety and bring it back before the board, like on some things that maybe we are vulnerable at. I was mentioning because we were locked up here back in our little room, but that glass doesn't really make me feel safe, and there's no other place to go. So did we come up with some ideas on ways that if something was to go on and pop in, where we can improve the courthouse?
Rodney?
I guess we didn't really look at like material structure type stuff. We were just mainly looking at the scenario and all the entities that was there, and how their communication and
Response.
how their response, and kind of that was the biggest focus of the drill. That's something we can definitely take a look at. Just so you know that all that security stuff is very expensive. So just a short little reminder. Budget time, but
That's what I'm like talking to.
We've made some changes in the past to different things, like you guys now have windows and, so people can't just jump over the counters. But yeah, we've found that is really, really expensive. So I guess we're kind of saying that you may not be as important as some of the others.
We already know that. I had a couple of thoughts, but the sheriff's office came through and collected all the weapons before the drill started.
And I pat this down and double check.
So, and like I said, there were some lessons learned. There were some things that were really important, I think. One of the groups did text 911. I think it's important for people to understand that you can text 911. And that's gonna be added to the training to make sure everyone gets that in their head, that send a text, don't call. And they were sharp enough to actually have a code word. So when the officers were coming in and clearing, remember from the other times we've had it, people said, I'm not leaving that room because I don't know if that's the person. Well, they actually texted a code word to DESCOM, and DESCOM called the officers and told them to use that code word so they would know that it was legit to let them in. So, I mean, people are thinking. I mean, they're really getting this, and we've seen a lot of things that really was impressive, so.
One thing I found out, we're gonna have to, we knew what we was gonna do each doors, all three of us. But we're gonna have to relay this to the auditor's office, because some little blonde-haired woman about knocked me down out there. Get out of the door!
We heard the pop, 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 and it got real. Get out of the way!
So yeah, it took a lot of work to put that together, but I think everyone was impressed with how it went, and how quick our courthouse security was able to take the individual out. I mean, it worked out very well, so something we'll keep working on, keep growing and developing, and making sure that we've got everything in place and people can actually respond and not freeze up because they don't know what to do. But yeah, it went really well. So that was probably the biggest thing for the last week that we were working on, so. Very proud of everyone. We got some great departments working with us.
Well, and the biggest sustain I saw out of that, and I've dealt with for 20 years, dealt with stuff like this, right? And, whenever you get to an interagency operation, that's training at the highest level. And, I went over to the county attorney's room, so we've got all the cameras, we can see everything. And in watching the video, it was hard to tell who was from what department, because everybody was working together between the police department, the sheriff's office, and even once the fire department finally came in. They're working together so seamlessly, you can't even really tell who's who. And that's extraordinary. Because a lot of the times when you get interdepartmental entities trying to work together, it looks like almost the Three Stooges, because one group wants to do this, and the other group wants to do this, and the other group's trying to, and they're not communicating. And all of that, it just happened. And that's what made it so successful is, it's all the time that they work together every day when they're doing, when they're doing the local support, when they're giving each other backup. It was really impressive to see all these entities come together, work together seamlessly, instantly. And then as far as individuals, as far as like the cops, us, people, just civilians, having a plan is the biggest thing. It's kind of like, what's the important part of the fire drill? It's not necessarily that everybody gets out the right door, it's that everybody knows they need to go out of a door, and somebody's gonna do head count, and you have a plan. And I think every entity, that's part of the benefit of this is, okay, what's your plan? You work through it, and it's ran through. So this was, I think, a very successful operation on multiple levels for the people in the building as well as for the emergency responders. It was impressive.
They say, there's a saying that in a high-stress situation, you will not reach a level of greatness, but fall back on your level of training. So that's what you will fall back on. And that's why for so many years we've seen people duck and cover. They've been taught that their entire life. Duck and cover, that's what you do. Well, it's not gonna work in these kind of situations. So with the training they're getting, hopefully people will be able to quickly respond and get done what they need to get done to save their own lives. But he's right, they worked well. They worked really, really well together.
I hope you're paying attention this time, Doug.
What?
No.
Thank you, Angie. Doug Irvine,
Good morning.
Jail Administrator.
You're losing it, Tom.
Heck of an introduction.
Doug Irvine, Correctional Center.
Everything's going good out there. We have 77 as of this morning. Good news of that is there's 6 waiting to go to Oakdale, and another 5 waiting to go to the residential facility. Oakdale's pretty good on getting those in there. Like 3 should go this week.
Is this a new 5, or is this I think you had like 5 or 6 last time
It's
that were waiting?
a rotating 5 or 6.
Okay.
Every week they rotate around.
How many got out of the county?
So there's 6 out of county. Sheriff Glendenny couldn't be here today. He didn't have any news to pass on, but I did hear from our contract towns. They had a city council meeting and they're pleased with everything that the deputies are doing in those towns, so they're happy with the services. That's all I got.
Thanks, Doug.
Yeah.
Rodney Bleasner, Maintenance.
Good morning. Just to add a little bit more onto the drill. I can't thank everybody enough for all their help. So Angie does the training yearly, and we got to do this drill every other year. But it takes a lot to do that. So I really appreciate Angie's help, Gina and Emergency Management, her team, for really kind of help coordinating this, the event. Sheriff Glendenning and his staff as far as putting the scenario together. We kind of lean on them to really just kind of put a scenario together, not to really tell a whole lot. Kind of keep some of it unknown. So we really got to thank him. The Burlington PD had 5 or 6 people. EMS, I think there were 6 people from EMS, had fire command, fire truck, 2 ambulances, 4 people involved out of DESCOM, about 7 CERT team members for volunteers to help with the perimeter and observers. Conservation, we got to thank Chris for allowing some of his group to come down. I think we had 3 from conservation. Brian, I believe, and Becky was here from secondary roads. The courthouse security, city hall, we had 2 or 3 people from city hall. The county attorney's office had, I believe, 5 or so from their office. Jail had 3 or 4 had transport here. There was just a lot of people involved, a lot of coordination. When you go through the event, you know, it seemed to go pretty quick. You know, courthouse security took them out pretty fast. I kind of piggyback on what Trent said. There was just a lot of good things that happened, a lot of teamwork between all the entities. And the only way to kind of really get that continuity and that teamwork is to do drills like this. So it was an event for training for the county employees here at the courthouse, but it was really good training for all the emergency responders, law enforcement. So like I say, I hope I didn't miss anybody. I know there's some other departments that would like to have maybe been here but had, you know, was really busy or couldn't break away to come do it. So I hope I didn't miss anybody, but I really want to let all them, everybody know how much we appreciate doing this. And hopefully we never have a live real event, but if we do, hopefully we are better prepared for that. So not only just employees here, but as law enforcement, emergency responders. DESCOM, like I say, there's a lot of good to come out of it. One of the main things, like Angie said, is a text to 911. There's a lot of people that didn't really know that you could do that. So there's always some things that you got to work on, but there's always good points. It was a successful event. I think that's all I have on that. We did have a joint safety meeting. We did give I gave Angie a review, so she's doing a great job. So thank you, Angie, on that. I think we kind of see that with the incidents or lack of incidents reports throughout the year for the county. So appreciate all that she does. A reminder to all department heads to please make sure that you and your employees come to all the monthly safety meetings. So we're going to be taking a closer look at that and see what we can do to kind of help make sure everybody gets the training that they need. So that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
What happened to videotaping those?
She's working on that. There's a couple on the YouTube,
Yep.
on the YouTube channel.
We
So-
sent those out. There's
Right.
there's a couple that I've got to kind of,
That's immensely helpful.
the active shooter one,
Well, sure.
because we have some video in that, they wouldn't accept it, so I've got to redo it. So there's some things I've got to work on.
Sure.
But we do have, one of the insurance companies I work with likes the idea of doing those and would really like to use some of my trainings, which I don't have a problem with. So we're kind of working out a deal that they're gonna allow everyone to have access, even if it's not their insurance company. Everyone can go look at those videos, if I'm giving it to them, you know, kind of fair deal. But then I wouldn't have to worry about those things. It wouldn't be quite so tight on what can be put on there, so.
Thank you, Rodney, and I'm sure I'm speaking for the board when we like to piggyback on your, the appreciation and the thanks you pointed out to all the people that made that last week possible, so.
Well, and Rodney himself too.
Exactly.
He has to organize all of us, so he's thanking everybody else, but he's gotta get us all organized and kind of put together. You guys have worked with me enough to know how much of a challenge that could be.
But we're blessed with a challenge now, and congratulations to Rodney, he's the new chairman of the Joint Safety Committee, so.
Yeah, poor guy. We all love him so much, you know, it's one of those situations when you're really truly good at what you do and you work really hard, you get all the work thrown at you. That's poor Rodney.
Thank you, Rodney.
Thanks.
Krista Pogamo, Public Health.
Good morning. We continue to be busy. We still have at Southeastern Community College Fairgrounds, we're still doing the COVID vaccination drive-through clinics from 8:30 to 4 on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We have all 3 vaccines that are available, the Moderna, the Pfizer, and the Johnson & Johnson, and giving the boost shots for anyone that qualifies. Currently, we have, in the last 7 days, 11% COVID positivity with 102 cases. Do anticipate that to continue going down. Our rate of vaccination of people older than 18 is 56.3. Vaccination rate for folks 65 and older is currently 81%, so.
CP, you said flu shots earlier?
COVID, I'm sorry, did I say flu? COVID.
I thought after that you
I
said,
may
I
have
think you said you're also flu shots.
I think he's hearing
qualified.
things, I think he said COVID.
COVID, we're giving COVID vaccine, but we are giving flu shots as well. But at Southeastern Community College, we're doing the drive-through.
What'd you say about, you said you're doing something out for those who are qualified? What were you saying?
Booster shots
Booster shot.
of the COVID vaccine.
Okay, I
Yep.
got you.
So anyone who's immunocompromised after 28 days, anyone that's 65 and older is eligible 6 months after they've received it, and anyone 18 to 64 who has an underlying health condition after 6 months since their second dose are eligible for the boost shots.
Okay.
But we are doing flu shots as well, so on Tuesdays at our clinic, as well as we're doing outreach clinics for the flu shots.
Did you mention to me that there was a webinar or meeting this afternoon to discuss some resources that the state Iowa Public Health might be dispersing later? Okay.
There, yes, we've had just some basic information. There seems to be some more funds coming through for some communication, as well as possibly even for homeless people based on some COVID. There was even some discussion about confinement locations such as the jails. And so we're waiting to get some more information on that. And I know, there's talk about expanding who is eligible for the boost shots, as well as, who's eligible for the vaccine. So I know there's more information coming. I don't have a whole lot of details on that yet, but expecting things to probably evolve in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Ken Heinlein, Community Services.
Good morning.
Morning.
We had our monthly SEAL meetings last week, and there was talk about the Iowa Finance Committee meeting with the auditors and some of our governing board and our CEO. It was kind of disappointing that we didn't get more guidance that we wanted about some of the new legislation. Makes it impossible to keep our Fund 10 in place, and how are we gonna replace that and still have cash flow for the region and things like that. So basically the Regional Governing Board decided we're gonna invite the legislators to the next Regional Governing Board meeting in November. So a lot of legislators have been invited, and at our next week, at the end of next week, we're gonna have our management team meeting, and the management team is gonna come up with some talking points for that legislative meeting. So we're working on that, but it's just difficult to see what the region's gonna look like under the new legislation. We'd like to see the legislation changed so we can continue to have a Fund 10 and not have so many problems with figuring out cash flow. It gets kind of I didn't get into all the details, but
So it'll be the region's expenses, but it'll be paid through the counties, but the region can't reimburse the counties, and it also can't prepay those expenses.
yeah.
This is the only two words that kept going through my mind were, if anybody here is old enough to remember Rube Goldberg, the
they'd show you, you know, you drop a ball or you go down a gutter, then it'd hit a mouse trap, and the mouse trap would send the ball over here. Just
Yeah, it's like.
just sit there in disbelief.
How are we gonna pay our employees, how are we gonna pay all of our providers, they're doing the services, and the money's all coming from the state, but there's gonna be some lag time. How's it all gonna work? So, yeah. So more to come on that, I'm sure, after we talk to the legislators.
When's that meeting?
It's the second Wednesday of November during our it's 1:30 in the afternoon. Well, 2 o'clock, we asked the legislators to come, so just a little after the meeting starts. But we're offering a Zoom link to it as well as in person, so we'll see what legislators come in person and what come over Zoom, but we're trying to make it as easy as possible to get as many there as possible.
Thank you, Ken. Is there, did I miss anybody? I don't think so. Okay. Correspondence. I had no correspondence, does either of you gentlemen?
I had a call from the mayor of Danville. Wanted to know if I'd heard anything about a hog confinement. Gonna start up east of Danville. I said no, and he said, you have to go to you first, don't they? And I said no. He said, we're not in the matrix. And basically, he wanted to know why, and I said, well, the reason is because DNR said in a meeting and told us they've got the final choice. And all it does is cost us labor, insurance, automobile, and we have to inspect them. So, I just wanted you guys to be aware of it in case you guys get a call too.
I've got correspondence as well. Out in the, what street is this off of? I don't know, but anyways, it's in Des Moines County. It's like going toward Minneapolis, somewhere around in there. And they've got, some recycling bins. And the correspondence was, he says it's always full. He says, if you don't want people in Des Moines County throwing their recycling things and things out in the trash, he says we need to add maybe we need to add another bin. So I said, well, I'll make sure I mention it at the next meeting. I said, send me a picture. He says, it's always full like this. I double checked with him. I said, is it full of trash or is it full with recycling? He said, it's pretty much all recycling. He said, but it's full a lot. So anyways, that's my correspondence. I wanted to make sure that I handled that for you, Corey. It's done.
Well, that one, we pay for that in the roll-off fees. They're located several places throughout the county.
They usually tell us where they're putting them, and they've gone up and down over the years on how many they have out there.
Okay, that'd be the Solid Waste Commission. I think you're on that anyway, so you might want to find out what that location is and bring that to their attention.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, it's not Danville, they won't let us have one, will they, Trent?
Yeah, that was the city. I think they had a trapper, you put in remains in there, and that was
Found
just.
a deer carcass, part of a deer carcass,
That was the last straw.
Does it have a number 2 stamped on it?
Good question, good question.
It could.
So we gotta start carrying a number 2 stamp.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, so yeah, if you want to, check
And I
and
can
see
look at
which
the
one,
latest billings
see which
and
one it
see.
is, billing, then we could maybe reach out to them and say that we're getting reports at this particular
There aren't that many locations.
roll-off site.
No, I'm thinking there might be 5.
I wonder if it's the one up in Mediapolis, because other than that, I don't think there's one in Sperry,
There used to be,
Dodgeville.
One in West Berlin.
I thought he said this was around Sperry, Dodgeville, but
I wasn't
could be
aware of
wrong.
one in Sperry, but there could be, I guess.
There
It's around
used-
Iowa City Road, somewhere around there.
There used to be at the old school site, but I don't know if it's still there.
Maybe
or
it's still
not.
there, I don't know.
Drive by, Natalie.
Sure.
But they're on deer carts.
I go to Danville to do that.
Discussion and vote.
Number two.
We have accounts payable in the amount of $910,177.77.
Move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have
Payroll,
payroll reimbursement claims in the amount of $685.27.
Move to approve.
Second?
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have a Class C liquor license for the Hy-Vee Michaelis wedding at the Barn on the Ridge for December 9th, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Personnel actions. We have one personnel action for the correctional center. Zachary Rudisell, part-time correctional officer, a new hire, at $15.99 an hour.
Move to approve.
Second?
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Personnel action for DESCOM. Martha Grimshaw, DESCOM custodial, new hire at $15 an hour.
Move to approve.
Second?
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. And we have two personnel actions for local health. We have Therese Lees, a registered nurse, part-time temporary RN, effective October 15th through January 15th, 2022, $25 an hour. And we have Janelle Starbuck, full-time or part-time temporary RN, effective October 15th, 2021 through January 15th, 2022 at $25 an hour.
Move to approve both of them.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have reports. We have the treasurer's report, semi-annual report for June 2021, and the treasurer's cash on hand report for June 30th, 2021.
Move to approve.
No, those are,
Oh, my bad.
sorry, I'm not speaking. Those will be on file in the auditor's office and available for public review. And we have minutes for the regular meeting of October 12th.
Move to approve.
Second?
Terry?
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Any other business?
I have none.
Future agenda items. Committee reports.
I have a workforce development board meeting, and they're just trying to do a better job of getting messages out to clients. They got a program where they're doing assistance with schools, with school costs. They're future ready. They just came back from the conference and they had a report on that. And one of the big issues was that there are fewer females and fewer people of color that are going into the white collar, so-called white collar jobs. That technology is a deterrent, that we should pursue diversity and trades or even using technology. So that's kind of the issue that they're trying to work on with getting people to cross over into that technological age, so to speak. And then also cybersecurity across the board is in big need for, they're doing internships and externships for that. Just trying to help pipeline individuals into the workforce, that's pretty much it.
I had a little utility service system. We got a problem over in Chevrolet. We got a sewer system that's on guy's got a house on a leased property. And so he's not paying his bill, and we can't do anything about it because it's on leased property. And we have a shut-off valve there. Well, we shut it off, he dug down, cut the top of the valve off, shut-off valve, got in there and took the flapper out, and then glued that back in there so it looks like it's all, put the pin back in, so the pin's there, but the flapper's not there. So,
He's an ambitious guy.
so then they found out he was still using it. So they went out and they dug it up and they found out that's when they found that. So then they put a new valve in, and this happened again. So now they're gonna go out there and they're gonna cut the line out on their property, and that comes out and then it goes down.
Yeah.
So they're gonna cut that out and see what happens there. And the problem of it is, we can't assess anybody for it because it's on leased property. We can't assess the property owner because if the guy is that signed up for it.
I'm assuming that's tampering with some private property. I would assume there's some law that would have been violated if you go into, somebody has a.
It's criminal mischief, and we can figure out who did it, and, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, we have a county attorney that won't do anything about it over there.
Which county's that?
It'll be in Keokuk County.
Yeah. No, Keokuk County. You mean Lee County?
No.
No, Keokuk.
Keokuk County.
Over in Sigourney.
Sigourney.
Sigourney, oh, okay.
Wasn't the county attorney that did it, was it?
I'm impressed with the guy's ambition.
He is, he's resourceful.
Yeah, so anyway, that's our problem. And then, we did, give, Bruce authorization to, for buying a 2014 Kenworth pump truck. And found one for $84,000. It's down in Texas. And we're gonna pick it up, and we got the other one sold for $20,000 in Texas. And that's where we're at.
Good luck with the Keokuk County attorney.
I don't know who that is.
Pretty tough to get a county attorney to do something he doesn't want to do.
Nearly impossible.
Yes, it is. I attended the Southeast Iowa Link Mental Health Region meeting Ken did. Approved claims and discussed the insanity of their Fund 10 fix. And discussed the Seal Region is going to have to enter into a contract with DHS for, what do they call it? Performance-based contract that, we have some questions that we could approach the Department of Human Services about. And I attended the Joint Safety Committee that Rodney mentioned, and we conducted the performance review for the Safety Director. Angie did very well again, and like I mentioned, Rodney was elected chairman, so congratulations again to Rodney, and I'm confident he'll do a great job. That's all of my.
Chairman Rodney.
Public input.
You should make him call you chairman from here on out. Don't even answer Rodney. Call me chairman.
If anybody with questions or comments, email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's board, board@dmcounty.com. Or call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-753-8203, extension 4. We'll give you a couple minutes to initiate that email or call. In the meantime, is there anybody in attendance that has any comments or questions?
I did forget to mention, tonight is the REAP assembly. So REAP is the Resource Enhancement and Protection Program. It's been around for 30-ish years. It's an enormous program that has done lots of work for parks, historic preservation, conservation in every county in the state of Iowa. Every 2 years they have these assemblies, and this is, so it's written into code. It's built in there to take public input, and so this is the chance for the public to give input on the program, learn about what it's done in your local communities, and then the input from this will go to the REAP Congress in January, which is where delegates that are selected at this meeting tonight will go up there and then vote on any changes or things like that to propose to the legislature, which then takes that report and ignores it, but that's it's the statutory public input process for this program. It's been immensely successful over so many years, so anybody that's got any interest in parks, conservation, historic preservation, and that kind of stuff. So REAP has been influential in building Big Hollow, building the trail. The city has knocked down REAP money left and right for building the Flying Bird Trail through the city. The Historic Society has gotten dollars from REAP, so there's been a lot of really great things done in and around here. So these assemblies are regional, and so this will cover, I'm not sure how many counties around here, but there's usually 3 or 4 or 5 counties that show up to this. So it's at Stars Cave tonight at 6:30.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else? I think our 2 minutes are up, so with an aye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. We have a work session with Danville Telecom, Jim Kensel, regarding the broadband and the American Rescue Plan funds, and we'll take a
Oh, this is
5-minute
regional
break
planning
before we
thing.
start.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Y'all have a
Okay.
great day.
Okay, we have a work session with the Board of Supervisors and Tim Fensel from Danville Telecom regarding broadband and American Rescue Plan funds. Mr. Fensel, if you'd want just to introduce yourself for the record.
Sure. My name is Tim Fensel. I am the General Manager and CEO at Danville Mutual Telephone in Danville, Iowa. Here today to talk to you about a conversation that we had previously about American Rescue Plan funding and some of the uses for it, and one of the commitments that I think the board had penned in a letter was that if there was money that was left over that could be used for infrastructure for broadband in Des Moines County, that there would be consideration for some of that funding to go to the local providers who are going to build out broadband to some of the areas in Des Moines County. With that knowledge, we submitted an application to the state of Iowa to build out some areas in Des Moines County. But that application also included some areas in Henry County, so I have to be careful when I show you the maps and stuff like that. I don't want to confuse and have there any thought that some of this money, if there is any money that comes from the ARC funding, that would go into Henry County. Henry County Board of Supervisors has already allocated dollars towards their portion in Henry County prior to us submitting the application to the state. About a week and a half ago, actually it was Wednesday of last week, I signed a contract with the state of Iowa's OCIO office. And we are the recipient of a grant for the build out of Henry and Des Moines County. I sent you guys, the Board of Supervisors last night, an email, or yesterday evening, an email that shows the award area, and that's the map that I think you all have in front of you. It's the pink layout map like this.
Can you forward that map to me?
I can.
Email wise?
I can.
Please.
Will do. And it's basically shows the area that was awarded from the state of Iowa. That dark black line that you see in the center of the map, that is the Des Moines County, Henry County line. So anything that is on the east side or to the right side of that black line is the Des Moines County area. That was approved for a grant, our grant application. The grant application from the state was in the amount of $1 million. Make sure I give you the actual figures correctly, so I'm not misstating
The
facts.
email said 1.6 million, something like that?
Yes, sir, it's $1,670,925. Again, that's to do the entire project, which is Henry County and Des Moines County. Our engineering firm that did the design for us gave me an allocation breakdown, and it shows that the portion that we are building in Des Moines County is $1,114,250.
1 million what?
$1,114,250.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
What's your deadline?
From the state of Iowa, it's NOFA 6 funding has to be done by December of 2024.
How much of that 1.67 is used for Des Moines County? Because Henry's allocating their amount for, for their side, right?
Correct.
Right, so, and this whole project is $3.4 million approximately for the whole thing, Des Moines and Henry County, what you're.
Correct. So, 2,200,000 approximately is Henry County's build-out requirement, or that's what we have to spend, or?
In other words, not to interrupt, Shane, I apologize. No, just want to be clear. 1,100,000 or the 1,014,250. That's what it would cost to build out Des Moines County, and the 2.2 million is what it would cost to build out Henry County. Is that-
Correct.
Okay, that's what's my
Our
understanding.
cost?
No, I'm saying that this is my cost. So I have to basically fund 1,114,250. Of that, I may get 50% from the state. So I may get 700,000 from the state of Iowa.
Okay.
But I'm not sure on the exact breakdown, and I say that because, you know, it's not like it's not a simple 50-50 split or a 60-40. Depending on how many miles of fiber we have, there may be more allocations of dollars put in Henry County than allocation of dollars in Des Moines County. If I have to put 5 splitter cabinets in Henry County, that's gonna up the price that we spend in Des Moines, or in Henry County.
What's a splitter cabinet?
It's
Just basically a junction or?
it's a cabinet that allows us to run 1 fiber into it and
Yeah, right.
bring 32 fibers out to feed homes.
Okay.
And they're quite pricey. But from the engineering firm, it looks like 1,114,250 is what is going to be spent in Des Moines County.
Okay.
1,114,250.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know, your handwriting's bad when you can't tell the difference between one and two. Go ahead, sorry to interrupt.
No. Any questions on that so far? So of the 1,600,000 that the state of Iowa is going to grant us, we get $0 of that until the project is complete. So I won't get any money from the state of Iowa until 2022, 23, 24, whenever we complete the project, we won't get any of that funding.
So what's that mean to you?
Not
It means
finance it.
I have to finance it myself. And along with the project that we are doing in Lee County to build broadband in Lee County as well, we're also self-funding a project down there to the tune of $3.5 million. So self-funding this project is difficult for a small company like us. Obviously, we've looked at all of the numbers. Henry County's allocation of $700,000 really helps us with that pre-funding that we have to do.
Right on.
So any money that the Board of Supervisors would be willing to allocate towards broadband in this 78 locations that we would serve in Des Moines County, and about almost 22 miles of fiber would really be appreciated.
Okay, was this all residential and business, or just residential?
Residential and business, 78 locations. I think of those 78 locations, there's, don't quote me on this, but I think it's about 11 businesses that are in rural areas. It could be a grain operation, it could be a shade tree mechanic, somebody that sells businesses or sells stuff online, but they're listed as a business with the state of Iowa. So there's about 12.
And the state requires you have ran to all of those before any?
Correct. If we actually apply for these service areas, and the second map that I sent to you that has this purple on it, that's the area that we applied for. And so we have to serve every single location in that area of that purple with 100 meg by 100 meg to receive the funding from the state of Iowa.
So ballpark, that's, if it's 11 businesses, then the other 67 would be private residences or
Correct.
homes or something.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
And that 22 miles of fiber, that's in Des Moines, 22 miles in Des Moines County?
Correct.
Okay.
And the other is outside of Des Moines County and Henry County. This is just a blown up map, and Brian, if you want, I can send you a map of this one too. It's a little bit blown up more, and it shows all of the little dots on this map. This one you did not get, because I
Okay.
didn't get it until late yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
But I can forward it to you. It shows all the different pinpoints of all of the locations. So you can see right here that there's a proposed cabinet right there. That's where we would put that one cabinet, split the fibers out 32 different ways. Still allowing us with an XGS PON solution, it allows us to offer 1 gigabyte wide, 1 gigabyte to every resident in that area. But the state requirement is 100 meg by 100 meg.
So just wrap my mind around this, it's 1 million $114,000. That's what that area is.
That's what that area is projected to cost.
That's what your cost is. You would have to finance that much.
Initially, I have to finance all of that, yes. Of that 1 million, I may get half of it back
Okay.
from the state of Iowa.
So the
50% or less is going to come from the state of Iowa, once it's all done.
And,
So you're saying you want 500 grand from the county supervisors, is that what you're saying?
I would love 500 grand from the county supervisors. To be blunt, yes.
Go ahead.
I feel that everybody in Des Moines County should have the same infrastructure as what people do that live in town. You know, just because they live in the country, I don't think that we should, you know, penalize them for living in the country. That's where I'm coming from. Tim, on this one in Des Moines County up there, this border, now Minneapolis has everything around that borderline you got there, right?
No, sir, they do not. North of this border that we're showing is still areas that are eligible for funding. Now,
Which map are you looking at?
This, I'm looking at this right here.
Okay.
So the area north of this, which doesn't show all of Des Moines County.
Yeah,
This area was applied for by Minneapolis. Minneapolis was not awarded any funding.
now that's the area that's in the green. Yeah.
This
that up
area
there.
here, all of this here. Now, I think Minneapolis, I think, comes to about here.
Okay, yeah.
Right about there is where their boundary ends. So north of there, all the way up to Yarmouth, that is not served. And is Yarmouth in Des Moines County?
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Yarmouth's
Okay.
in Des Moines
So-
County, but that's the Minneapolis line though, isn't it?
Yarmouth, no. Right now, Yarmouth is served by, not CenturyLink, what's it, Windstream.
Windstream?
I believe Windstream is the service provider in Yarmouth. So the Yarmouth area and everything north of what we're showing here is still eligible for funding in the future. I know Minneapolis had applied to do some of that.
Yeah.
But like I said, their funding was not approved.
I'm just curious, I couldn't care less, why do you get rejected in an application like that? I mean, if
So-
their goal is to expand, why would they reject? What's the
Oh,
logic?
that's a great question, Brian. So there were 176 applications submitted for funding from the state. There was $97.5 million available.
Yep.
And all of those 176 applications amounted to $300 million.
So it's a number game.
It's a numbers.
Yep, fair
And
enough, I just was curious.
because we had a commitment from Henry County of an actual dollar amount, that gave us extra points. And because we had a commitment from the Board of Supervisors here, but no dollar amount attached to it, we got extra points in our application and they approved our project.
Good, congratulations, I just was curious.
Thank you, appreciate that. So we are very fortunate to have that, approval. I do know that there is another application that's coming out, an application window for another $200 million that the governor just released a week ago. So there could be an opportunity for somebody else to apply for that area. But, it's unsure whether or not anybody is going to apply for those additional areas. I would love to apply.
It wasn't just Iowa providers either. I mean, I know I got some friends down in Kansas, like Mercury Wireless down there was applying for the Iowa grants to try to move into Iowa. So it was a big numbers.
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are companies like, there's a wireless company called AMG that was trying to do some stuff, and some of this 200 million that's gonna be available in the future, it's not for wireless, let's say, specifically. It's federal funding, comes from the state, but it's federal dollars. So the requirements for it and the areas that have to be built are different. And that's why I had asked Chris to stick around, because this new application shows that there are areas that they take the wireless providers out, and now those areas are eligible for funding. And Stars Caves is in one of those funding areas.
And at my workforce development board meeting, they said we need to rethink the future of the workforce, is rethinking what the workforce looks like. And part of that the workforce is gonna be with technology and internet. I personally think everybody in Des Moines County ought to have internet. As far as I'm concerned, I just wanna come down to a dollar amount, but I do think that it fits within the requirements of the money to extend the internet. Where I'm at is trying to come up with a figure that is adequate and not being irresponsible, knowing that other needs have to be met, but.
Well, one of the things that I wanted, to talk about as well was, the fair share. So there are 2 internet providers in Des Moines County that are local providers that, build broadband, build fiber to the home, and that's us in Mediapolis. I talked to Mark Carlson, who is the general manager at Mediapolis, and said, Mark, I understand that you guys had applied for some funding, you weren't awarded that funding. I was awarded that funding, however, let's say that the Board of Supervisors would allocate $500,000 towards this project. In all fairness, $250 goes to Mediapolis, $250 goes to Danville, right? But if you do that, $250,000 goes to Mediapolis, and they're gonna build $250,000 worth of a network. If you allocate $250 to Danville, you're gonna probably get closer to over $1 million, because $250 from the Board of Supervisors, $250 from the state of Iowa, because they match that funding, and then Danville has to basically build the rest. So you're doubling or tripling your money investment in areas covered when you allocate dollars with somebody that has a grant award. Does that make sense? What I'm getting at is I may not be able to do this funding because of the amount of capital that I have to invest up front before I get reimbursed from the state. I may not be able to do this project without some help. But if I get that help, then you're not investing $500,000 or $250,000. You're investing that $500,000 plus what the state's gonna allocate, plus whatever I'm going to allocate to it.
That's what we get in return.
Let me throw a number out there. Henry counties, they voted to give you $700,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 700,000 is 32% of the 2.2 million dollars that it's going to cost them to do that. You said it's $2.2 million to do the work.
Approximately, yes, sir.
So they obligated 700,000 of that, and that's 32%. If Des Moines County obligated 32%, whatever that, it's fraction anyway, we're right at 355,000. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't hear it.
It's gonna cost $2.2 million to do it in Henry County. If we were gonna give the same percentage here, it would be about 350,000. If we wanna do that, so, you guys got it.
One other thing that I did want to bring up before you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Chris has indicated that, there is a lack of service at Star Caves Estate. And I pulled up the map of this second round, the 200 million that funding available. I would like to, with your guys' blessing, see if I can apply for some grant funding from the state of Iowa. It's a 60% match from the state, 60%, 40%. To see if I can apply for providing service to that grant, that TSA, the Targeted Service Area. see if I can't get some grant money for that area to build broadband to Stars Caves. And the reason I say that is because it would be extremely expensive for me to build to Star Caves without some kind of grant from the state of Iowa. I'm on Sunnyside Road now in Burlington. For me to build from Sunnyside to Star Caves, we're, you know, what, 2 miles, 2.5 miles?
Well, it's tough construction too. You got a lot of rock in there, and I mean, it's tough construction along with the fact that it's expensive anyway.
Yeah, typically it costs me $7 a foot to put fiber in the ground. To serve one location, it typically looks at about $10,000 per location. In the case of Star Caves, it's probably gonna be more like several $100,000 to get to that location, just because of the terrain that we have to go through.
Does that increase service anywhere else?
It would give me
I
the
mean,
ability
is there more than just one customer there?
According to this map, there's 2 service locations in that TSA, targeted service area. There's 1 business and 1 home. So I would have to serve both of them. But that's it. That's the only,
Is the business Stars Cave, or is that separate?
I would assume it Stars Caves. There's
Yeah.
nothing else there in that
Okay,
service
so-
area.
Stars
Yeah.
Gate Road. Yeah, it's just us and Broadway.
So it would be service to Star Cave and to whatever the residence there
You
is.
have Gittmeyer's house there, and there's another house.
Yeah, there's the log cabin and the Wiedemeyer's house, so there's 3 residences on that road. And obviously you'd have to come down Irish Ridge, I don't know what.
And they've expressed their very high interest in getting cable down there too.
Who has Irish Ridge Road?
Yeah, that for, was it Brockway, you say, and Bruce Brockway.
But Timmy, you said that's a couple $100,000 to do that, to get that fiber there, and you're saying that it's a 60%, that 60% of it can be covered in grants? Is that what you're saying? Be like 80 grand to do that?
I'm sorry, I just zoomed in on the map and that's not Stars Caves.
Ah, jeez. Where is it?
According to that, that's actually out by,
It looked like the dead Creek.
well, it is on Flint Creek, but it's north of Beaverdale.
That's probably not Stars Cave.
No, it's not Stars Cave. Stars Caves is not in a funded area, according to those rats.
Well, hey, just so you know, Tommy, I'm in on your 355. I'm at least there. To me, I have no problem.
That's why I just wanted to point out a number. Part of the problem, and Tim and I have talked about this, our big project is the public health bill. I personally, and I even hate to throw this out there, have sort of estimated that at $3.5 million. That might be high, might be low. Everybody here knows my experience in estimating the total cost of a construction project.
I think we're gonna be closer to 4 million.
But, anyway, it's out of 7.5, that's something we're gonna do. We've got some stuff we're gonna do here at the courthouse, the digitizing, what's it gonna cost? $250 with the new numbers,
Probably,
somewhere around there.
and we need a new phone system.
Do we have any idea what a phone system will cost?
I've been talking with them, I still haven't got any hard numbers yet. I was supposed to get them this week.
Got a ballpark?
No.
Okay. So I mean,
I've tried to get, weasel out some numbers, but they don't wanna talk
So we
numbers
don't know
until I
whether
get
it's
everything to.
above 100 or below 100 or anything like.
I would believe it'd be below 100, but I
It
don't know.
would be below 100.
I haven't got any numbers yet, so.
Okay.
I should get them this week, so.
Okay.
It depends, aren't they gonna have to run new wiring, because that seems to be the issue with Sarah's
Well,
phone.
I just asked you.
No, I don't believe so. Well, these are all gonna be,
Yeah, right on.
these are all gonna be internet,
Oh, okay,
all internet based, so, but
okay.
we have to have some more discussions on some of this, but I'm trying to at least get some preliminary numbers, and to both vendors I've talked to are supposed to be getting numbers this week, so.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm gonna ask. How soon do you need a hard number? Or if it's today, tell us. If you can wait a week, tell us.
I don't need a hard number today.
Okay. Do you have an idea when it would be?
Well,
Give them a date.
How about this? My hard number will be after you have to commit your dollar amounts for your ARP funding before the end of the year, correct? You have to commit what you're gonna do with your money before December.
they don't have to be committed until, because we won't have them committed, we aren't gonna know what this public health building, because we're gonna send out requests for qualifications for a construction manager. He will walk us through, we'll have to have requests for proposals from an architect, engineer to design the damn thing. Then we'll go out for bids.
They'll be lucky to know by the middle to end of next year.
But to know exactly what that's
We got
gonna
to about
cost.
2023 to
But-
actually
but-
allocate the
But,
funds.
but I suspect after we get,
December 24.
yeah, but I suspect after, we get a construction manager, they will be able to give us a ballpark. You know, and say, well, no, we think it's only gonna be 3, or we think it's gonna be 4.2, or something like that.
I think it's gonna be close to 4.
Well, anyway, but they should be able to tell us.
Yeah.
They'll, so,
Should we start a poll? See.
if we get construction manager, Brian, if they come through, if we get that RFQ in the next couple weeks, we should be able to get a construction manager on board before the end of the year, shouldn't we?
You better be willing to commit some time, because again, that's back to doing interviews and,
Yeah.
and it is to, right around the end of the year, you either got a target before budget time or after budget time. So really January to February, because you start talking about you gotta interview. From what I see, there's only a couple companies that have been competitive in the construction management industry. So you're only probably talking 2 interviews at the most from what I see just looking around. But you gotta get the RFQ out, then you gotta get it back, then you gotta do interviews, then you gotta go through the evaluation process. All that has to work with the schedule of everybody on that team. So I think it's doable, but it's aggressive.
Okay.
Chairman, are we comfortable with at least saying today that that we're gonna commit to at least
Before we go there, I'm
I
asking
don't wanna
Tim,
commit until we find out where Colin's at.
and quite honestly, if it's under 100, I don't think it's gonna make any difference.
No.
I don't think that's gonna be enough of a,
But like I said, before, I think they should be entitled to the infrastructure that we've got in town.
who?
These
That's
people
rural
on-
residents.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Very-
no, I misunderstood you, okay. What I'm trying to get is, do you have a deadline you need to know and say, Tom, we need to know by now, November 1st, or something like that? If you've got something like that, that would be, and if it has to be today, and you just said it wasn't, you know, we'll take that in, we've got a number of things to sort through, don't wanna overpromise what we can't deliver. And, because if when we sit down and tell you, okay, we would give you X number of dollars, it would be that would enter our calculations now as what we were spending. So, if you don't need it now and you can put it off just a little bit, that would make ours easier. But I don't wanna make your life harder, I know these guys don't.
No, I think we can put it off for as long as you need. It may be the difference of us doing it or not doing it, but we can put it off for, you know, as long as you guys need to come to a solid number. I don't want you to rush and, you
No, I
know,
appreciate
allocate
that.
dollars and say, okay, well, shoot, I wish we would've waited, cause, you know, we were talking about 335, but it looks like because this came under budget and this came over budget and this came under, we have 450 to give. I don't wanna rush you and,
I appreciate that, and that 30%, you know, that 355, would that get you home, or do you know?
I would know a little better, but that will get me home when we complete our audit at the,
Okay.
you know, March timeframe.
The other possibility I see here is the possibility that these guys are clearly interested. That they may give you a minimum dollar amount. This is what we'll commit to you once, no matter what, as we go through our process. And then they may get to a point sometime next year where they say, okay, we may be able to come, and that may be enough to get you the project.
Right.
And they may come back to you and MTC. Because to think that MTC at some point won't land here would be silly.
Well, and I did want to bring that up, because, you know, I did talk to Mark, and Mark said, no, he understood that because we have this grant award, that he would not expect the Board of Supervisors to grant any money to Mediapolis right now. But in the future, if there's additional ARP dollars that are available, and he does apply for additional projects, then obviously at that point, if there was any dollars available, he would love to have some, but.
And that's where I'm going, is there's a chance that maybe the funding to go on up to 500 from whatever the initial baseline target is may be there. They got a lot of math to do over the next, I'd say 12 months in my opinion. And the early math may allow them to grant or commit to a certain amount, and they may be able to come back to you and say, we can go on up and help you further, something like that.
We've done something similar with Lee County. And the board committed a certain amount there. It's a very large amount, but we're building a very big network in Lee County.
They have a lot more.
They have a lot of underserved areas.
Underserved areas.
When you look at Des Moines County, there's not as many underserved areas. Quite frankly, it's because you take the entire Danville Exchange, which is 70 square miles, and all of Mediapolis's exchanges, they're all served because we all have fiber to the home for our companies. So, and then you take Burlington, West Burlington out of the equation because it has MediaCom that says it can provide 100 meg by 20 meg. That takes the entire city limits out of the equation. So when you look at Des Moines County, there's not a lot of areas left other than north of Danville all the way up to Young. And the ammunition plant, which I'm not gonna run fiber in the ammo plant. Don't blow it up before I get to use it.
It'd be a nightmare anyway.
But let me add, and you talked about conservation, we talked about this once, and you probably know more about this, or I'm sure you do. And I've read different things. Starlink, that evidently is reached someplace that it's infeasible or unfeasible to try to reach with cable. Is that in the near future, or is that, anybody know? You know what I'm talking about.
Elon Musk has launched 7,000 satellites.
Yeah.
I just read a report yesterday that Starlink is not turning up customers that have paid their initial deposit of $900, I'm not sure what the initial deposit was.
It's like $400 or $500.
$400 or $500. They haven't turned them up in 9 months. So
Turn to what? Oh, you mean turn them on?
Yeah, they haven't turned them on. A white paper that was done some time back that stated basically that the satellites that are in the air right now will not be able to support all of the test locations that are supposed to be tested for North America, let alone residential service. Now, I have heard also that there are some people that have it and it works okay for them. I don't think it's the long-term solution. I don't think we want 70,000 satellites overhead. There's only 7,000 now. But I think the plan is to call for 70,000. Don't think my belief is that that's not the long-term answer. The long-term answer for connectivity for everybody is fiber, because there is no lifespan of fiber. I was mentioning to somebody earlier that we're still using fiber.
It doesn't wear out, is that?
It doesn't wear out.
Okay.
We still have fiber in the ground that was put in the 80s. And there is nothing faster than the speed of light. So I can send data from here to, you know, anywhere at 128,000 miles per second. That's pretty fast. And it does it inside, you know, hollow glass at the speed of light. And we have not reached the maximum amount of data that can be passed from point A to point B yet on fiber optics. So personally, I believe that's the answer for everything. It's just a matter of time before we get every single square inch of the United States covered, just like they did with electrification of the United States, where everybody now has power to their house. It's a matter of time. People aren't patient and they want it now. So we're trying to facilitate that.
And I would agree. I'd say overall, you know, very remote areas, that's pretty much the only option now for very remote areas. I know the Starlink stuff is still in beta, and from what I've read online.
What's testing, you mean?
Testing, basically. And, hey, it works, but we haven't completely rolled it out yet. And from what I understand, I mean, it works, and for the most part, it works pretty well, but it still gets pretty spotty. you know, the speeds kind of range up and down quite a bit, and sometimes it goes down. But I think, yeah, for really, really remote areas where you just can't get anything there, I think that kind of system works. But for, you know, normal areas or even rural areas here in the county, you know, fiber or, you know, the like is gonna be the best option in terms of cost and everything else, so.
We did explore satellite connectivity at the nature center, and I had two different techs come out, and they both told me it's not feasible.
I remember, I think you were there, I
just
know you were there, we
cut
talked
down
about
like
it
20 trees or
one
something.
time,
Right.
about that out
And even
there.
that, it was gonna be tough.
Carrier pigeons,
Right, there we go, yeah.
smoke signals.
Yeah, the distance we'd have to get in the air for that to work would be,
Yeah.
it's down that kind of gully down there.
Have you got a map that would show where the Stars Cave is?
I have a map that's pulled up right now that shows the Stars Cave Road, yes, sir.
Does that tell you how many miles you would have to lay fiber or something like that? And I'm not trying to pin you down, but you'd mentioned it, and then it turned out we had the wrong side of the county.
It's the wrong area.
That happens to Ryan all the time.
I think it was about a year and a half ago, but I think when I talked to Mike, they'd have to come down the curve of that Irish Ridge Road and then down Stars Cave Road. And I think it was like just a little over a mile, maybe?
So Tim, it's cost you what, almost $37,000 a mile to put fiber in?
Well,
At
trying to figure
$7
out
a
from Sunnyside
foot.
down to there, that's about a mile, a little over a mile.
So we did 69 point something square miles at Danville.
Yeah.
That total project cost was estimated at about $7.5 million.
7.5.
And that's, the construction of that just finished 3 weeks ago. We're still turning up customers for the installation inside their home, but that project is done now, so.
We can't
Basically,
get our-
900 locations at $7.5 million.
Did your board voted to go ahead and accept that grant?
They did.
Okay.
Well, here's where I'm at, I'd really like to support you, you know, and there's gonna be some money left, I'm sure. Just how much, we don't know, but, maybe we can make a commitment, I don't know. But we need to find some things out first.
Yes, sir. In full disclosure, Tom, my recommendation to the board was that we not accept the project for Henry and Moines County because of the tight commitment that it would put our company under. The board said, go back, look again, tighten up the, financials, sharpen your pencil a little bit. We did that, and we accepted the contract from the OCIO's office, but I still am concerned that, it's gonna put us, we have to self-fund a lot of money over the next 4 years to get Lee County and Henry and Des Moines counties done.
That's your job to be concerned, so that's good.
Sleepless nights and gray hair.
Yeah. Lee County.
Sometimes
what,
it just goes away.
Did they give you, what, 1.7 million or 1.5?
1.9.
1.9, okay.
1.9.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks a lot, Chairman.
Now, what we did with Lee County was a unique example of a public-private partnership. So there's going to be a broadband ring that we build from where we have fiber now in Keokuk, and it's going to basically give us a redundant path for all of our fiber. I was mentioning this earlier, that we have fiber that runs from Danville into Burlington, West Burlington, obviously, down to Fort Madison and down to Keokuk now. The fiber ring is going to run back kind of through Donaldson, Argyle, areas, Houghton, and then back over West Point, St. Paul, and then back up to Danville. It will give us the ability to build a redundant ring so that if we get fiber cut between Danville and, let's say, Fort Madison, we can reroute the traffic from Danville to West Point, then from West Point to Argyle, and then back to Keokuk and back up to Fort Madison. So it will truly give us a redundant path that we should not be susceptible to a fiber cut taking our network down.
Well, I don't want you to, will you have any trouble, if you do this, that you won't have any trouble making the schedule that
you said that you have to be done by the end of 2024 to get the state money, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that won't be a problem. I'm assuming the commitment you're talking about is what you were talking about, a financial commitment, and it wasn't just the logistics of getting that fiber in?
Certainly, the logistics can't start happening until I know where my budget is.
Yep.
But, no, I think the logistic piece is something that we're gonna have to plan, well in advance anyway, because just like everything else, supply chain is an issue for us right now. If we order fiber right now, I will get it in about 40 weeks. Yeah.
40 weeks?
40 weeks, yes, sir. ONTs, which are the optical network termination devices that we use inside the customer's home, those are almost 50 weeks out. So anything that I order now is gonna be anywhere between 3 to 6 to 9 months out before I get it in. So we have 3 to 6 months before I have to start ordering materials. How's that?
I 3 to 6 weeks before you have to start ordering materials.
3 to 6 months.
Months.
Yes, sir.
I'm with these guys, I wanna support you. And I don't want you to wait till March for at least an answer, but, a little bit longer, maybe a few weeks longer, have us get a better handle on it. But,
Absolutely.
I appreciate your coming down and,
Appreciate
showing
the
us where
time.
you are.
Appreciate the time. And I'm still gonna work with Chris to see if we can't figure something out for Stars Caves.
Look into it.
Okay, okay.
You know,
We could give the board some shovels and have them start digging the trench down there.
You ever seen how fast we do?
I'm just one.
If you think we could have that
I'm
trench
already in.
built by December 31st, 2026.
Just tease Tom with some dark beer.
Yeah, there we go. We can't come up with that, so I'm already good there.
You know,
My
there's
hydration
always a
level.
possibility that we can look at something with Southeast Iowa Regional Planning too. They have grants for, you know, community things that I haven't explored with Mike Norris and or Zach. And Zach is really good at grant writing, so, you know, maybe we can explore something there and see if we can't come up with some kind of solution to get Star Caves reserved too. Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate the time.
And I think, did I misrepresent our position? Did I think that we're all in favor of supporting this project?
I'm in favor of
We
supporting.
can just get them something as soon as we
Yeah.
can, but, just stretching it out just a little bit further.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a commitment if we can, Chad, but,
Well, we
need stuff done for the courthouse.
we do,
And,
we've got hard bids now on the
we got-
courthouse for the,
You say that's around what,
for the digitization.
200,000 for digital?
200 to 250 between that,
Yeah,
I
I'd
think. I
have
can't remember what it was, and I looked at
You
those
bump that up,
final,
'cause give or take, let's say that's 300, and you'd say under 100 you'd hope. So
I would hope so.
figure that's 400 for what we need, plus
uh,
building, I can see there's gonna be, and then Shane, he wants
Well-
2 million.
we're gonna have, yeah,
What-
we're
what
gonna,
do
we're gonna have we've already got $850,000 for lost revenue. We'll have another $850,000 in 6 months that we can use for, spend it just like it's regular county, because it's lost revenue. So, anyway, Tim, thank you very much for keeping us update on that. We will get back to you, and hopefully with good news, and I'm optimistic, and appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen, appreciate it.
We all,
Just a minute. Okay.
Tim, they